Hello good people, it's your boy Johny-J, and in this video I'm going to give you my top Lightroom post-processing tips for speeding up your workflow. Boy, that's a mouthful. Let's get into it. My name's Johnny Spencer, Johny-J for short, and I'm a landscape and nature photographer for the National Park Service here in Australia, who I've been working for over 24 years. I have a real passion for being out in nature with the camera, and I've decided that I want to share all that photography experience that I've learned over many years of trial and error with as many photographers as possible. All right, good people, let's get into this first hack for speeding up your workflow. So if we go over to the import tab, I just wanted to show you something over here quickly. I'm not sure what's on the SD card, so this could be a mystery pic. Oh, we've got some photos here, cool. But what I wanted to show you up here in file handling, really important here, is I recommend you build this here in standard. So building these previews in standard, what that does, it creates a little JPEG version, doesn't take up much room on your hard drive, but each time you click through the photos, rather than Lightroom having to load that higher res preview, it will already be created on import. Yes, it will slightly increase the time of importing your photos and getting them ready to post-process. So if you're in a hurry, you may want to turn that off for some reason, but in the long run, it just makes your job so much easier when you're cycling through your photos later on. So highly recommend turning that one on. All right, so we're over in the develop module now, and I want to just quickly show you this. There's something I do to 99% of my photographs, okay? And it's basically, so this is just a random raw file here. There's a couple of settings I always turn on, okay? One of them is lens correction. I can remove chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections. I always turn them on 99% of the time. The only time I don't use enable profile corrections is when I'm shooting with a wide angle lens and I want that distortion, because that's basically getting rid of any vignetting that's happening from the lens, getting rid of most of the distortion, okay? So always tick that on there, and in the effects, I'm always adding a little vignette, and I've got my perfect vignette settings there. I'll just roughly put those on. And then the other thing I always do is I always do my pre-sharpening. So always, sharpen up around 70, 75, hold down the option key, drag the masking slider, and whatever's turning white isn't being affected. Sorry, whatever's turning black isn't being affected by the sharpening, and whatever's turning white is being affected by the sharpening. But that's not the tip. The tip is now to go and create a preset based on that, okay? And you can call it start or whatever you want to call it. Just make sure everything's ticked there and hit the create button. So if we go over to the import tab and then we go under this apply during import, you can see we can add our user presets here, and we've got our start preset, and you can apply that to every image when you import it. So it just saves heaps of time, those basic 3 things. And then you might find there's a couple of other things you do to 99% of your photos that you can add in the develop module to that preset as well. And that really helps speed things up, particularly when you've got a lot of photographs and that you're gonna keep and you're gonna process really fast. I highly recommend doing that. Coolio. All right, so this tip is, it's just so good for selecting photos fast. It just really is. The first step to this, okay, is we go up here to photo and we want to turn on this auto advanced here. You'll see here, auto advanced. We want to turn that on, okay? If you have a look down here, you've got 3 flags. The first flag is a pick. The second flag is unmarked, and the third flag is reject, okay? So why we turn on the auto advance is I recommend you bring up your bottom tray just a little bit so you can see your photos. Make one nice and large, okay? And then we're gonna get 2 fingers on the keyboard. We want one for X and one for P. Okay, so this is really fast. You've got a massive group of photographs. You've got to get through them. You've got to choose your keepers. You've got to get your post-processing done. This is the fastest way to do it. Auto advance on, fingers on X and P, okay? And then we're gonna go through and just pick out when it said blurry, sharp. He's looking at the screen, babe, but sharp, and you can go back. And if you happen to miss one, you can go back with the arrow keys left and right, and I can hit X because that one's blurry, sharp, blurry. Okay, you get the idea. Now, if we have a look at this bottom film strip, you'll see we've made some that are picks, some are rejects, okay? And then if we hit this button here where it says, I've got a few others that I've picked before, hit this filter button here with the pick flag, you can see there's our 3 picks that we've got, and we can go ahead and post-process those. It truly is the fastest way to go about finding your keepers so you can post-process them. Really, really love that. If you're enjoying these post-processing tips and you want more in the future, please feel free to subscribe below. It's just like following on other social media networks. It really helps me support the channel, and it also supports my goal of helping as many photographers as possible. So I really appreciate your support. All right, on to the next one. So we're in the develop module now, and this is called solo mode. If you've got limited for screen real estate, this is really, really cool. So if we go over here to the gray area, okay, and we right click the gray area here, you can see solo mode. So you'll see if you right click the wrong area, you won't get that drop down. But if I right click over here, solo mode, enable it. And then every time I click one of these disclosure triangles, I think I turned it off actually, like a dingus. Anyway, let's turn that back on. Every time I click one of these disclosure triangles, it closes the other panel behind it. So what that does, it allows you, because you can imagine if I turn solo mode off and I've got all these panels like this, and you're jumping around your panels and they're all open like that, you're scrolling back and forth. It's actually really, really slow. If you've got a massive giant screen, it might be okay and you might get away with it, but 90% of the people don't have massive screens that they're working on, and solo mode just really, really helps. It's just awesome. So while we're talking about solo mode, you can also turn off some of these panels. You know, maybe you don't use the snapshots panel, which is not something I use, but maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you right click that panel and go down here, you can untick snapshots and it's just going to hide that. The same as this top panel up here as well. So if I don't use the map module and I don't use the book module like this, I can just turn them off. I don't make slideshows. I'm not doing much for the web. I can just turn all those off, clean up my interface, and it just makes things a lot cleaner and faster to find rather than trying to go through everything to find the module you want. So I think that's a really, really cool thing. And on this side as well, if you customize the develop module, you can untick things as well. Not that we're going to untick the base panel, but you can also change the order by dragging these around as well. So, you know, maybe you've got a certain workflow where you use certain panels in a certain order. You can go ahead and customize that to what you used to or what you like. So that really, really helps speed up your workflow, because then you can just work from top to bottom. All right, coolio. All right, I really like this one. When you've got a group of photos that have been taken in the same light all around the same time, you can sync your develop settings across many photos. So I've done a basic adjustment on this first one here. I'm going to hold down the shift key and click on the third one. You can see those 3 photos there are now highlighted, okay? Then I'm just going to hit sync. Usually I turn crop off. If you've cropped it and they're all the same, that's fine. And masking, you can decide whether you want to take masking things across as well. So you can tick and untick things if you don't want to sync them. And I just hit the synchronize button and boom, boom, boom. All those 3 photos are now processed because they're exact same light, exact same subject, and it's really, really fast just to sync those things across to those other photographs that are the same. Coolio. All right, so the last thing I wanted to quickly show you was about exporting and export presets. These are really, really cool. So the main ones I use are like full resolution JPEGs and web. You can set up ones for TIFF, you can set up ones for certain locations. It's totally up to you what you want to do here, but let me show you what I do. So I've got my desktop now, and I can choose my, let's do my web res. So if I go to desktop here and go web, choose the web folder. Okay, then I'm going to go down here to JPEG, 100%, and image sizing. I'm going to go down here to long edge is 200 pixels, 2000 pixels, sorry. And I want to create this as sRGB. Okay, and then post-processing on do nothing, but sharpening output standard. And then all I do is go add, okay, once I've got my settings in, and I can just call this whatever I want. I've already got a web one there, so I'll just call this one XWeb. And next time I come back, I just click on that preset really, really fast, hit the export button, and boom, my photos are out. They're resized, they're ready to go, they're in the location I wanted them. And it's a really, really fast way to get your photos out of Lightroom and ready to share on the web or share for print or whatever you want to do. All right, good people, that's it for this one. If you enjoyed this video and you're a bit of a Lightroom user, how about you check out this video here, Dodging and Burning in Lightroom. It's a really great way to get into Lightroom and create some really dynamic shadows and highlights in your images. So check out that video here. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Stay inspired, keep creating. Peace.